to introduce a couple of our department heads and allow them to share a little bit of information that's going on that may have some effect on something going on in the county or in Post 2. And I would like to start off with Mr. George Jones, if that's okay. Is that all right? Who is over our DOT department. Mr. Jones? So thank you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming out here to get out of the traffic.
All right. Thank you, Todd, for inviting me out here. Being I'm an engineer, I'm very outgoing and love to speak to people. Love the crowd, so this is a lot of fun.
You're welcome to it.
All right, first thing I'd like to talk about, we've got some projects going on with DOT in different phases throughout the post. I'll start off with the intersection of Highway 101 and Gold Line Road. As you all know, it's a very, let's say, non-standard intersection. It's kind of like the only type of its intersection I've seen around here. And to improve the safety of that intersection in Holly Springs Road, we have a project under design right now to put a roundabout, so it'll hook all those lights together. This intersection, by the time they're done with it, it'll improve safety greatly out there. It'll be very standard, and it's a very good project. Next one, we have the intersection of State Route 101 and State Route 120, Highway 101 and Buchanan Highway. We have a single lane roundabout plan for that location also. As you know, there's delays in the peak hours out there, so this will be a very good project to help capacity through the intersection. We're looking at getting partial right-of-way plans sometime soon, so we can start approaching the property owners about obtaining the right-of-way needed to install this project. We also have a project with that's partial in Post 2 at Ridge Road, Corn Store Road, and Bob Hunt, also another roundabout. Definitely a roundabout themed presentation. But again, a single lane roundabout, as you all know, this is a all-way stop intersection. So with the roundabout, it will definitely improve traffic flow, especially with the schools down off of the road. So this is another good project. Currently, partial Post 2, we have a right turn lane project at State Route 61 and East Memorial Drive ongoing. Construction right now, we just poured the curb, we've got sidewalk poured. We're having some difficulties right now with Atlantic Gas and utilities. That's kind of holding up the project. So I'm hoping to get that done probably within the next month and a half or so. We'll actually be driving on that lane. Good news on that. And last thing, just this last board meeting, we entered into an agreement with the state of Georgia to provide funding for a turn lane project at the intersection of Scoggins Road and Buchanan Highway. As y'all know, out there are no turn lanes on Buchanan Highway at all. This project will add left turn lanes, right turn lanes, and like I said, I think it's a good project. GDOT will provide $200,000. We'll provide the additional funding to complete this project, which right now is estimated at about $142,000.
Could you mention any dates about the two roundabouts, and we'll talk about Paul Rose's store and at this work?
Right. 101, 120 right now, we're looking at partial right-of-way plans, so we're out a little bit right now. We're probably talking 8 months or so. And 101 Gold Line, we just issued the NTP in May on that, and that was a 19-month project. So if you're further out, the Ridge Road Corn Store project, I said we're working on a final right-of-way right now. So if everything goes well, we get all our agreements, we should be able to have that advertised for bid by the end of the year.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Darryl, would you like to share a few words with us?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
I appreciate it. Thanks for coming out here.
Yes, sir. I'm Darryl Vaughn. I'm Assistant Director of Paulding County Water System. We don't really have anything specific to Post 2. I would like to mention a couple of things, though. One about the reservoir, and then maybe go into a couple of things about the just customer service related items. For those of you who don't know where to find information on our reservoir, you can go to rcrwater.com, and you'll find literally thousands of pictures. So they're anticipating making water, making drinking water. I didn't say last time. making clean drinking water by the end of 2019. So, as you can imagine, they're well along the way in that process, constructing the water treatment plant. So, if you want to go online and look at all the hundreds of thousands of pictures that have been taken of the project, feel free to do that. RCRwater.com. Customer service related, a lot of people may not know that we do not have to come into our customer service office there at the government complex to set up service or pay your bill. A lot of people don't realize that. You can, there's three ways, I believe. There's IVR, which is interactive voice recognition. You can call in, and based on your voice, you do need to have your bill in front of you when you use this method, because it asks you for your account number and whatnot. But there is, let me get my cheat notes here. Hold on one second. I don't typically deal with a lot of customer service related items, but I've been coached this afternoon on some of those more customer service related items. Auto bank draft. We've had auto bank draft for several years now, and it's free. It's at no cost to you, so if you want to set that up, you can. I'm not sure if you would go online to set that up or not, but definitely our customer service representatives could help you out with that. I mentioned the IVR, which is the interactive voice recognition, and then online bill pay. Obviously saves paper, but there's a small fee for that. You can set it up so that you can do it manually every time your bill is due. You call in and do a online bill pay. You go online and do a one-time bill pay every time you need to pay your bill. You can set it up where it takes a draft on the same date every month. So if you knew when your paycheck came in and you knew that you could pay your bill after that, you could set it up the same day every month. Or you could set it up to withdraw money from your account when your bill is exactly due. So on that exact minute, you could set that up. So, I guess we've heard a lot of people complaining about that they always have to come in to either pay or set up an account, and that's not true. So just want to make everybody aware of that.
Of course, we have,
I have a question. You mentioned a fee. There is a fee online, paying online?
There was a small fee associated with one of those options, and it was the automatic. Oh, it's the online bill pay. There's a small fee for the online bill pay.
Okay. And what is the website again?
It would just be the Paulding.gov, and then there's a link at the top of Paulding.gov that says departments,
Okay.
and then you would follow that to the water system. That's it.
we've had a lot of people that, when we took the water department building on Bill Creek Parkway, turned it into Georgia State Patrol, and we lost the drive through. So the water department right now is at the administration building, and there's not a drive-through, but we do have the bill drop-off at the end of the parking lot, which folks can go by and just drop it off in the night drive, and it's picked up this morning at 8 a.m. You can do that. And of course, soon we're going to be at the SunTrust Bank building across the street from the Briar Patch, and that's where the water department's going to be. And then again, we'll have the drive-through again, and then you'll be able to pay your water bill and go next door to Martin's and get a biscuit. It'll all work out pretty good. But anyway, I want to thank Daryl because when we had the water problem out in Union and Yorkville especially, we spent quite a bit of time together.
That's right.
And that's where I really got to know Daryl even more. We actually stayed out there one night, all night together.
We watched the stars.
We did, and watched the pumps and prayed for things to happen. But he was the guy out on the ground with us, and all the other workers that were out there that were dealing with all the engineers that were at the admin building and off other sites. And we had all kind of phones going, and, but they're the ones that make everything, get things back together, get things back online, and, I appreciate it. That was a tough week, but I know you learned a lot. But as a commissioner, and I saw our employees learn an awful lot about what was going on with that system, so hopefully we're prepared in the future where that doesn't happen, but, that was, I appreciate your work, okay? That was a tough time, so thank you so much, Daryl. I appreciate it. You know, Daryl mentioned the Richland Creek Reservoir, and that project's going to be done before we know it, and we're going to have our own source of drinking water here in Paulding County. And I really feel like that not too far in the future, but 10, 20 years from now, you know, we're going to have people that sit back and say, hey, you know, the folks that were in leadership, and I'm not talking about board of commissioners, I'm talking about employees, department heads, I'm talking about the citizens that have supported things, I'm talking about the water department. I think they're going to look back and say, you know, the folks that were in leadership at that time made a great decision. We have our own source of water right now, and I think it's just going to be just so valuable to us in the future. So I appreciate, Daryl, all your work and the water department's work, and we've got a lot going on and a lot more to do the next few years, but I'm looking forward to it. So thank you so much. Chris, would you like to?
I'd be glad to.
Okay. All right. This is Chris Robertson in our community development department. And, we got a few things going on this week that we worked on. Some we got done, and some we didn't.
I'm just going to get a few things to go into that part. I'm Chris Robinson, Planning and Zoning Manager, and representing our Director, Ann Littman, who's Community Development Director. And we do a lot of things. We're made 4 divisions now. It's the Planning and Zoning, Building and Permitting, Development Division, and Business License. And one thing, jump over to business license. We are working real hard to do a lot of streamlining, where eventually we'll be able to do things online. As part of community development already, we've streamlined things like sign reviews, temporary sign approvals, things like that to make it easier, saves people trips to the county to make get the permits. So yeah, we've been very busy with all divisions. Growth is back. It's running close to what it was when we ended. We're looking at right now over 700 single-family home permits issued through May, or actually pretty close to today. Out of those permits, a lot of them are in subdivisions, and then you start thinking about the subdivisions. You go into what type of subdivision? Well, we've heard that word, planned residential development. We've heard it for a long time. There was a lot of zonings in the mid-2000s to go to this planned residential development category. That has been looked at. One thing we did a year ago, we approved a comprehensive plan. Based on that comprehensive plan, you start looking at areas of the county where the growth will be and where it's probably not going to be or even want it. And based on that, we're looking at amending the zoning ordinance, and one of the things is the planned residential development. Now, right now, in planned residential development, you go in there and masquerade 8,000 square foot lots. There's about 30,000 lots that were approved over a time period up to about 2008. And about 10 or 11,000 is built. Another 10 or 11,000 is either under construction or even being in phases or near phases. And then there's another about 10 to 11,000 that's not even moving any dirt. And that's one thing we're looking at. It's a serious thing because you got the reservoir coming in, you're looking at capacities, you got to look at your infrastructure and all that. We did that with this comprehensive plan, and it was a 3 or 4 year process. And so, you know, our recommendation at this time is to make a change to that PRD, push it back to a 12,000 square foot lot, to actually cut it off completely, go back and create better opportunities for development that has a little more control on it as far as aesthetics, building designs, street designs, things like that, to keep value. And that's a big thing. And we're within, I would say, at least 2 months to having something ironed out on that. We appreciate the Board of Commissioners support on that. Another thing that we just did, the board just Tuesday night, approved a new zoning category called R55. We were having a lot of developers come in, and they call it the silver tsunami. We're there. And I am the last baby boomer, by the way, too. I'm the last in. But they are asking to do the senior living on some of our prime commercial areas. And the way our ordinance was written back in years ago, it was something that was a permitted use with no standards, no limitations. So the commissioners did a moratorium back in January and extended it on, and they developed a new category specifically for 55 and over senior. I'm not calling it that yet. That is the federal housing standard, 55 and over, for that type of housing. Most of the ones that go in that housing are usually in their late 60s, early 70s. But there's a category, it's got a lot of really good aspects to it, and we have a little more control because they have to come see us and the Board of Commissioners to zone to that category. Such, but just want to touch, through May, we've issued over right at 2,600 permits. That includes about 500 commercial permits and residential decks and everything. That value is about $125 million in value, and we've collected about $619,000 in fees. And one thing why I bring that up is because for about the first time, and Tammy will help me out, maybe last year or this year, that the overall community development budget is now back to being covered by user fees and not subsidized by property fees. But other than that, it's really busy, got a lot of stuff going on, and I think most of you know where I am. And I have to admit, I'm always reaching out. It's my thing. I love public input. I'd rather know what you're thinking than me telling you what you need to do. And I do, out of all the information I get, there's one thing I have figured out. About 2 out of 10 people will eat a fried chicken. You just wouldn't believe it. They laugh at me, but I asked people who's moved here from north, from around everywhere, and it's average across the board. Thank y'all. Thank you.
We've been working on what Chris talked about, the PRD zoning, and we did put a moratorium at the beginning of the year. We've had to extend that. I hope, Chris, that we're in our last extension. We're in a 60-day extension, and I hope we get things done. When you do that, you have to extend it. Some people say, well, you didn't get your job done, didn't do what you need to get done. Sometimes, once you start a process, you come up with other things that need to be taken care of in that process, and it takes time to do it. And we hope that at the end of the day, that we make some wise decisions that's going to help us in the future with those. My personal belief is, and it's not a board belief, it's just Todd's belief, that we should have never allowed 8,000 square foot lots. Okay? And when it comes to mass grading, I'm not for the mass grading. And you look out there in the subdivision where, you know, you've graded a lot to put a house instead of mass grading, and you see the trees that are left. To me, you've just got a much more beautiful place 10 years, 20 years down the road, and then you're doing these mass grading subdivisions. And so I'm not for the mass grading, and I'm not for 8,000 square foot lots, but I am for the process of what we got to go through to make the changes, and that's what we're doing. So Chris, I appreciate you and your department's efforts, and we're working on it. And a lot of times it's nobody's fault that we have to extend something or we have to table something, but the bottom line is sometimes things come up, and to keep from making a rash decision or too quick of a decision or a wrong decision, we have to extend it on. So I appreciate it. Mr. Baker, would you like to say a few words? Is this Frank Baker, our county administrator. I spent more time with Frank the last 2 weeks than I planned to. How's that? I'll put it that way.
There you go. Thanks for having us, Commissioner. I appreciate it. I'm Frank Baker. Glad to be here. It's a great night in Paulding County.
It is.
It is. I don't want to say great day because that's his tagline. But it is a beautiful place. For those of you who haven't been here before, this is a beautiful place. I remember I came down here for the ribbon cutting, and I was just amazed. I didn't want to leave. You know, it's just a great place. And some of the things that we do, for example, we do an alcohol awareness program, and we just did one at Scoggins here back in May. And my wife, who is retired from another county, which I'm retired from another county also, but she helps me with these programs. And I said, you know, I'd love for you to come down here and see the school and help me with the program, but you got to see this park. And so we came down here and rode around before we started the program over there, and she was amazed. It's a beautiful park. We've got some great parks in Paulding County, so we're really proud of that. But I'm glad to be here tonight, just to speak briefly. We are working. We're working hard. I've been in government service for 35 years, and one thing I can tell you is that to be successful in government, you have to do one thing. You got to listen, you got to listen, and you got to listen. And you got to be willing to continuously review your processes and the things that you're doing with all your departments that you have. And that's what we've been doing for some time now. We're continuing to evaluate our customer service, like Darrell was talking about earlier, and that's not just with water, but we're doing that with our business license and some other things that we're doing. But we're listening to folks, and it's important for us to do. And we've had changes in our marshal service in the last 6 months. We've got a chief marshal for the first time, I think 12 years, 11 or 12 years. Trevor Hess and Marshal Hess has been doing a great job. We were fortunate enough that the Sheriff College is over there, and he used to work for the sheriff back a few years ago. Great guy. Trevor's doing a fantastic job for us. But one of the things that we noticed when we were looking at the marshal service is that code of ordinance hadn't been changed in a number of years. A long time. And so we took a look at it, and so we made some changes there, and the board adopted some changes. But that's what we're doing. I remember the night that I was stolen from the court system by the commissioners. Commissioner Miles says, Frank, put your track shoes on. Scott Green, who you're going to meet in a minute, who's our director of operations, put your track shoes on. And so even though we've got dress shoes on, they substitute as track shoes. We've really been trying to get things going and move things forward. But I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be a resident of Paulding County. I've been living here for about almost 2 years now. There's two kinds of Kool-Aid, good Kool-Aid and bad Kool-Aid. I came out here about 6 years ago and started working and drank the good Kool-Aid and started and decided to stay over here and live. So, but I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and thank you so much.
Appreciate your work. Frank's been a great asset to us, and I have told him that on several occasions. Put your track shoes on, put your running shoes on. We've got a lot of work to do. I've also told this next person, Scott Green, that, and he actually wore some the other day, didn't he? White. They were white. It was very interesting, wasn't it, George?
And they were from the 80s, too.
Yes.
They were K-Swift.
Scott is just a great asset to the county. Was over our DOT department, and then we ended up getting a better DOT director. Jones. No, Scott. When we got George Jones, when we promoted Scott, we got George Jones. Scott said, you know, how much a harder worker and how much just a stronger DOT person he was going to be. He was very complimentary of George. But I appreciate Scott. Scott, I'd like you to share a few words with us if you would. And Scott's been just a great asset to the county. And I really appreciate him in the position he's in now, Director of Operations. Him and Frank work together daily, and they're doing a great job. So Scott, I have to give you a hard time.
Thank you. I'm an engineer, just bear with me. Okay, I can't crack a joke to save my life. George is a smart engineer type. I didn't get that part. Frank's got the gift of gab. I didn't get that part. I'm a problem solver. That's what I like to do. You give me a puzzle, send me off. I'll go work on it, and I'll bring it back to you, bring a solution. That's what I love doing, and I really appreciate the opportunity that the commission gave me to sort of apply what we use at DOT day in, day out, communicating, coordinating, cooperating with so many different people to get a road project done. It works pretty much in everything you do. If you can work with people, you can coordinate, communication is the bottom line. And then bring the best ideas together. It's not about me, it's not about one other person or another person. You get the best heads together and you come up with the best solution. And that's what we're trying to do. I jump in with my background when I can, give my 2 cents here and there, and sometimes the solution comes together. But basically, I'm here to support the department heads, help them out, help work in between the gaps where we have department heads. They've got their expertise in their own areas, and sometimes we just got to get together and solve a problem. And I help jump in that gap and make sure that communication is working when I can. And then I'm helping the commission with problems, property acquisition, special projects like the jail. I spend a lot of time on the new sheriff's office and working with the colonel and all his staff and the sheriff. And I love big projects. DOT, big projects built for the parkway we did in the last few years, East Hiram Parkway. Great projects for the public. And it just kind of blows open traffic, and you'd love to sit back and see that ribbon cut and things get taken care of. And looking forward to the new facility that we're building behind our courthouse here in the next 2 years or less. But other than that, I'm not here to really talk and tell you a whole lot. Not a whole lot I can tell you. I'm here to answer questions, and we get into some Q&A. I'll be glad to jump in and try to help answer any questions you might have. So I sure appreciate it. And again, I thank you for the opportunity. I don't take it lightly. Working for the public is a great thing. It's very satisfying when you can go home and tell your kids what you do. It's very tangible. You go home, you fix the pothole, you cut the grass, you take out the trash, whatever you do. It's very tangible to go home. So that's what I do. So it's a very enjoyable job. I love working in Paulding County, and I hope I can continue that.
Scott and George both were very instrumental and have been for the past 3, 4, 5 years on our roadside cutting, our extra roadside cutting, and our garbage litter pickup, we call it, on the sides of the road. We have made a difference. We still have a long way to go, but there's been a difference made. When you can come in from Cobb County down Dallas Highway and you see the sides of the roads there with trees that are still there from December and grass that's not cut properly, I can tell we've come a long way. And we've done the extra cuttings. We've worked together. They have with the state to make sure they know when the state's cutting, and we've cut state roads now, and work together with them to make sure that we give Paulding County as many cuttings as we can, litter pickup along with the sheriff's help, and we are conquering that and making a difference. It still takes the citizens to get out there. So Mr. Morris needs you to pick up trash, Ron needs you to pick up trash, everybody pick up trash. All of us working together can conquer the problem that we've had. So I didn't plan on the sheriff being here tonight, but he's here, and so is Mr. Hutton. Y'all have anything that you would like to say, or are you good with any questions? I'd love to give you a minute. Come on. And I appreciate you coming out. You must want something.
I know most of y'all here, I hear y'all I'm the sheriff of Paulding, and I don't want to bore y'all, and you got other things to talk about. I do want to thank you that when this jail project came out, we've been talking about this for a long time. It's been a need that's been going on for a long time. I started off working in a jail, so not only am I the sheriff, I know how that works down there, and I know what we need. The public has been great about listening to us. I went to commissioners and I told them, I said, I want to put a bond referendum out on the presidential ballot. I don't want to do our own little thing where they say we target our own group of people to go vote for this. I said, put it on the presidential ballot when most people are coming out to vote, and let the public vote on it. If they approve it, we'll build it. If they don't, I don't know what we're going to do. we'll tell them we need to build it. But we put it on the ballot, it passed overwhelmingly. I want to thank the public for your trust in us to do that. I'm gonna try to make it quick. We've got the people in the right places. Scott Green just come on, and I'm thinking, I don't know why the DOT guy's gonna come here and build a jail, but he walked in the room, and I'm still the dumbest guy in there. He's extremely sharp. He has helped this project move. Me and Chip were both alive. I go, why don't we got a DOT guy here helping us with this? Scott's sharp as a tack. He come in and he's helping us get everything going. We've got some battles going on with the city, because it's in the city. We'll get there. I'm looking forward to getting this project completed on time and under budget. So I appreciate y'all for that. And of course, we'll stay around, and Chad Hunt over here in blue shirt, my chief deputy. We work all the time. We're available. All you gotta do is call the office. If you keep finding one of us, ask for my secretary. One of us will call you back. If you come there, we're there. We'll talk to you. We're easy to talk to. So I was born and raised here. This is my home. This is where I want to make a difference. I was born on this country, on this land, and I'm going to get planted in this place when we leave. I can't do anything without thanking this young lady sitting right here. I mean, y'all know Tabitha. I don't know why this girl still works here, because we all go after her. She is a great asset to this county. If you get a chance, thank Tabitha for the job she does, because this girl works as hard as anybody I've ever met. Thank y'all for your time. Thank you for letting me come.